Hello everyone, this is Bahagharing Lexi and welcome to another video learning episode with Bahagharing Lexi. Now, in this video learning with Bahagharing Lexi, what we are going to discuss is all about simple and compound interest. And what will be our objectives for this video learning? At the end of the session, it is expected to illustrate simple and compound interest and distinguish between simple and compound interest. Now, to start with our learning, let me give you a problem. And this problem talks about Peter and Jose who want to save money. Now, let me read the problem. Peter and Jose are both working students who want to save money. They want to deposit their money to a Filipino-owned bank so that even in a simple way, they can help their fellow Filipino. Suppose Peter will deposit 10,000 pesos and it will earn a simple interest of 3% per year or per annum, while Jose will deposit same amount and will earn a compound interest of 3% annually. Now, the question here is, how much will be the interest earned after 1 year, after 2 years, and after 3 years? Now, this problem talks about simple and compound interest. Peter, who are going to save his money in a simple interest, while Jose will invest and save his money through compound interest. Now, let me give you an idea about what simple interest and what compound interest is. Now, simple and compound interest talks about interest. Ibig sabihin, magkano ang tutubuin. Okay. Now, interest as a word is an amount paid or earned for the use of money. Ibig sabihin, kung si Peter at si Jose ay magsisave ng kanilang pera in a Filipino bank, therefore, after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, the money that will be deposited by Jose and Peter were earned a certain percent. And that is what we called interest. Okay? Now, on the other hand, when we talk about simple interest, wherein Peter wants to invest his money in a simple interest, now it is a type of an interest that is computed on the principal where the interest remains constant throughout the term. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, yung pera na isi-save ni Peter for 3 years will generate every year a constant interest. It will generate a constant interest. Okay? Meaning to say, for the first year, meron siyang interest. Whatever be the amount of interest earned for that first year, that will be the same interest to be earned on the second year and on the third year. And getting the sum of all the earned interest will now be the final interest earned of the money of Peter. While when we talk about compound interest, it is an interest that is computed on the principal and also on the accumulated past interest. Diba, Jose wants to invest his money in terms of compound interest. And 3% will be given per annum, compounded. Okay. Ang ibig sabihin noon is that the principal amount on the first year will generate an interest. And then the interest plus the principal after 1 year will be combined, and that will become the new principal amount wherein the new principal amount will have another interest on the second year. Meaning to say, yung interest na na-earned on the first year ay magkakaroon uli ng interest by adding the previous interest earned to the principal amount that will become the new principal amount. Unlike with the simple interest. Okay? Now, aside from the concept that we have about simple and compound interest, I will be showing you a sample computation wherein you can able to really distinguish between what simple interest is and what compound interest. Okay, let me show you the formula that we are going to use if we are going to find the simple interest and the compound interest. Now, to find for the simple interest, we do have I is equal to P times R times T. While if we are going to find for the compound interest, therefore, this will be our formula. F is equal to P times the quantity, 1 plus R raised to the power of T. And to find for the compound interest, therefore, F minus P. Okay, now to understand better the symbols that we are using in computing for the simple and compound interest, here are the following notation or the symbol and its meaning. Now, I sub S is what we call the simple interest, meaning if we are going to get the simple interest of the problem, therefore our formula will be I is equal to P times R times T, where I stands for simple interest. I sub C is what we call the compound interest. And to find for the compound interest, first we have to get the F, and then after getting the F, subtract to P. Okay. Now, what is P? P is what we call the principal amount. Okay. The amount that you are going to invest or the amount that you are going to borrow. Okay. Because when we talk about interest, it's either you are saving or you are borrowing. Therefore, kung magkano ang iyong hiniram o magkano ang iyong sinave, ang tawag dyan ay principal amount. F stands for future amount, meaning to say, what will be the maturity value? Magkano ang matatanggap ni Peter at ni Jose after 3 years? Kung ikaw naman ay nangutang, magkano ang total na ibabalik mo sa iyong pinanghiraman? That is a combination of the principal and the interest. Okay, that is F. R is the interest rate, meaning to say how much is to be earned in terms of rate. Okay, in terms of rate to the principal amount that you borrow or you save. Ibig sabihin, magkano yung ipapatong na percent doon sa pera na sinave mo o inutang mo. Okay? And then when we talk about T, we talk about term of time in years. Ibig sabihin, hanggang kailan isi-save ang pera? Hanggang kailan dapat mong gamitin ang pera bago mo isauli yung principal at yung interest kung ikaw naman ay nanghiram. Remember, I sub S is the simple interest. I sub C is for the compound interest. Sometimes we are using capital C for compound interest. P is for principal amount. F for future amount, also known as the maturity value. And then we also have the R small r, that is interest rate. And T is term of time in years. Okay, for better understanding of the terminologies presented in the formula about simple and compound interest, let us go with the definition of the terminologies. Okay, the first one is the principal amount. Okay, now when we talk about the principal amount, this is the amount of money borrowed or invested on the origin dates. Meaning to say, magkano ang hiniram na pera o kaya naman magkano ang sinave na pera. Okay, the amount, that is what we call the principal amount. How much is being saved or how much is being borrowed. Now, we do have origin dates. When we talk about origin dates or loan date, this is the date on which the money is received by the borrower. Okay, ang ibig sabihin, the date na kung saan yung araw na tinanggap yung pera o yung araw na sinave ang pera. Okay, but remember, in the computation of the simple and compound interest, basically, when we talk about exact interest and ordinary interest, origin date is not included in counting for the use of money. Another terminology that we have is borrower or debtor. Now, when we talk about borrower or debtor, it is a person or institution who owes the money or avails of the fund from the lender. Now, kapag ikaw ay nangutang, ang tawag sa iyo ay borrower kasi ikaw yung nanghiram ng pera. Okay, from the institution, which is the lending company. Now, on the other hand, kapag ikaw naman yung nag-save ng pera, ibig sabihin, yung company na kung saan ang pera mo ay sinave mo, ang tawag doon sa institution na iyon ay debtor. Okay? Now, we also have lender or creditor. A person or institution who invests the money or makes the funds available. Pag ikaw yung nangutang, yung pinangungutangan mo o yung pinagkakautangan mo o yung hiniraman mo ng pera, ang tawag doon sa kanya o ang tawag sa institusyon ay lender. Okay? Now, kung ikaw yung nag-save naman ng pera, ang tawag sa iyo ay creditor. Okay? Kasi ikaw yung nag-invest ng pera. Okay? Kaya kung ikaw yung nag-invest ng pera, you are the creditor. Okay? But kung ikaw yung nanghiram ng pera, yung pinanghiraman mo, ang tawag sa kanila ay lender. Okay? Now, do not be confused with the terminology, who will be the borrower and who will be the lender. It depends upon the situation. If you are saving, you are the lender. If you are the borrower, therefore, you are really the borrower because you are borrowing the money. Rate, on the other hand, is defined as a rate of increase of the investment, usually in percent, which is charged by the lender. Okay, ibig sabihin, it is the rate of increase which is being added on. Okay, being added on or being charged by the lender. Since nanghiram ka ng pera, if you borrow the money, therefore, the use of the money or the use of the fund will generate a certain amount. And that amount is a charge by the lender and expressed in terms of percent. Okay? And then we also have the future value or maturity value. Now, the amount after T years that the lender receives from the borrower on the maturity date. Ibig sabihin, ito yung amount na kung saan matatanggap o tatanggapin ng lender. At ito rin naman yung amount na isasauli ng nanghiram On the other hand, kung ikaw yung nag-invest, this is the amount that you are going to receive after 3 years, after a certain time. Okay? Yan, that's what we call maturity or future value. Okay, time or term expressed as T. Now, amount of time in years that the money is borrowed or invested. This is the length. Ibig sabihin, gaano kahaba na gagamitin mo yung pera at isasauli mo rin. This is the period, the length or the duration. And it's always expressed in terms of years. Okay? And then the last terminology that we have is a repayment or what we call maturity date. Kailan mo isasauli yung pera given the term. Okay. Now, this is the date on which the money borrowed or invested is to be completely repaid. But remember, when we talk about completely repaid, the principal and the interest will be the total combined amount that you are going to repay to who owns the money, whether it's a investment or it's a borrowed amount. Okay, now these are the terminologies that we encountered, and I hope you're able to understand the different terminologies that we are going to utilize or use in the concept of simple and compound interest. And with that, let's go with our computation for simple interest. Okay, going back with our problem, remember for the simple interest, we do have Peter who have 10,000 pesos and he wants to invest his 10,000 pesos at 3% per year. Therefore, after 1 year, how are we going to get the interest earned by Peter? That is to utilize the formula P times R times T, or the principal, okay, the principal amount times the rate. Okay, the rate is expressed in terms of decimal. Okay, therefore, the 3% is now expressed in decimal. That is 0.03. Okay, and then multiply to the first year. Okay, thus, the interest earned after 1 year is 300 pesos. And remember, each year, the money of Peter will earn 300 pesos. Okay, now let us proceed with year 2. Okay, 10,000. Then we do have 3%. Okay, and then since this is year 2, or ika-second year na, and if you want to directly get the total or the combined interest earned by Peter after 2 years, then you can multiply 10,000 times 0.03 times 2. That is 2 years, okay? And that will be 600 pesos, okay? And then for the year 3, same principal amount, 10,000. Then the interest rate is 3%. And if you want to go directly in getting how much will be the total simple interest earned by Peter after 3 years, then you can have 10,000 times 0.03 times 3. Okay? And that will be 900 pesos. But you can also illustrate the simple interest earned per year. How much is the earning for the interest earned by Peter each year? And that will be 300 pesos each. Hence, the total earned interest of Peter after 3 years will be 900 pesos. Now, on the other hand, when we deal with the compound interest of Jose for 3 years, now Same with the tabulation. We do have here the time, the principal, the interest rate, then the solution, then our answer. Now, kindly observe what will happen. On the first year, the principal amount is 10,000 and then the interest rate will be 3%. Therefore, 10,000 times 0.03 times 1. Thus, the interest earned after 1 year, compounded 1 year, will be 300 pesos. Same with the first year of Peter. Okay? And since this is a compound interest, now as defined earlier in our compound interest concept, okay? Now, the accumulated interest will be added to our principal interest, which is 10,000. Unlike with a simple interest, wherein the interest earned is constant through years, okay? Therefore, on the second year, the principal or the new principal amount will be equal to 10,300 pesos. Why? Because the interest earned after 1 year will now be added to the principal amount because it will also accumulate interest since this is compound interest. Now, the interest rate will be the same. It's 3%. The only different is the principal. Now, we do have now the new principal amount, which is 10,300 pesos. Okay, therefore, by solution, we do have 10,000 times 300 pesos times 0.03 times 1. This is the interest being earned for the second year. Okay? Therefore, the amount will be 309 pesos, which is different from the simple interest because in the simple interest, after 1 year, it generates 300 pesos. On the second year, another 300 pesos. Therefore, Peter receives 600 pesos. That is adding the first 300 pesos and then another 300 pesos. But for the compound interest, it is higher than the 300 pesos, which is 309. Therefore, after 2 years, the total earned interest of Jose is 609 pesos. Okay. Now, the total accumulated interest earned after 2 years will then be added to the principal amount. Okay. Therefore, now at the third year or in the third year, the new principal now will be 10,609 pesos. Therefore, same interest rate. Solution, we do have 10,000 times 609 pesos times 0.03 times 1. Therefore, in the third year, the amount interest earned is 318 pesos and 27 centavos. Therefore, the total interest earned by Jose after 3 years will be 900 pesos or 927 pesos and 27 centavos, which is different and much higher than Peter's simple interest earned after 3 years, because going back with Peter's interest earned, now the total amount after 3 years is just 900 pesos. Unlike with Jose, the total interest earned after 3 years is 927 pesos and 27 centavos. And that is the difference between simple interest and compound interest. For the reason that when we talk about simple interest, the interest earned is just constant throughout the years. Okay, unlike with compound interest, the interest earned will accumulate another interest. Okay, therefore, the concept under compound interest is the concept about exponential concept, exponential function. Okay, I hope you're able to differentiate between simple and compound interest. And remember, when we talk about simple interest, it is an interest computed on the principal wherein the interest remains constant throughout the term. Okay? While when we talk about compound interest, it is computed on the principal and also on the accumulated past interest. That's why regardless whether you are dealing with simple interest and compound interest, it is always important that you know how to differentiate between simple and compound interest. And hope to see you in my next video learning about problems involving with simple interest and compound interest. With this, God bless everyone and see you on my next video learning with Bahagharing Lexi.